The two words I am are the name of God. Thus, when you use these words, I encourage you to keep in mind that this is your own divine name as well. As the scriptures remind us, let the weak man say, I am strong. Thus, I urge you to be mindful of what you say to yourself when you use the name of God. I am should always have that which is aligned with God in the same sentence. Here's how I use these powerful frequencies in my daily meditation practice. Think of the 5 words, I am that I am. In your mind, place a comma after the word that. Let that represent for you what you would like to manifest or become as a person. And I can't stress this enough. Write down on paper precisely what that represents for you. Whatever constitutes your wish, write it down, and in your mind, call it that. For example, that could mean your perfect health, or abundance, or a specific job, or a happy, loving partnership, or anything at all. Write it down and be specific. And as you close your eyes in meditation, let your inner mantra be, I am that. For example, I am perfect health. I am abundance. I am in possession of the job I seek. Here you are getting used to the idea of using your imagination as your guide and living in your inner mental world as if what you desire is already your reality, is already a present fact. Your future dream in your imagination is a present fact. The words I am are the name of God, which is synonymous with your highest self. You are not saying I will be or I hope to be. You are speaking as God speaks, calling that which does not exist as though it already did. Say it over and over as your inner mantra, I am that, and make that represent whatever it is that you would like to attract into your life, and that represents your highest wishes that are now in alignment with your source of being. So the name I am is really the name of God. And you have to ask yourself the question, every time you use it, in the book of Joel it says, let the weak say, I am strong. How do you declare your I ams? Because most of your I ams are associated with your ordinariness, with your physical world, with your mind that you're speaking about. But when you begin to say, I am well, which I say to myself, and I've had a diagnosis that tells me I'm not supposed to be able to say that, but I know the greatest gift I've ever been given is the gift of my imagination, the gift of being able to place anything in there and put a do not disturb sign around it and superglue my intentions to that inner place. And you mentioned the words Jesus said, I am the way, I am the truth. He also said, I am the resurrection. He didn't say I am the crucifixion. And we've placed so much emphasis on that in the world, on the suffering, and not enough, I think, on this being who is transcended and is that being of light. But I ask every one of you watching, every one of you in here, to be very careful when you use the words I am, because you say I am weak. When Moses said, what is your name? God didn't say, my name is I hope things work out, or my name is I will be. Because to say I will be means I am not. He said, I am that I am, meaning everything that exists, I am that I am, which means you. And you can use the name, I am. And one of the things, Eckhart, you and I talked about in preparation for doing this is not only to look at it from sort of a academic, philosophical point of view, but how can we apply what our teachings really bring to the world? I don't think it's an accident that people like yourself and myself have an audience for that return to source. I just did a public television special, public television, and it's basically, the theme of it is, it's called Wishes Fulfilled, but the theme of it is the God is in every single one of us, and that they approved it really surprised me, but because they're always so careful about separating out and you can't say you are God and that you are divine and all of that. That word I am is very big in my consciousness and in my awareness. I've just written a whole book that'll be out in the spring on this whole idea of I am.
There is a stillness behind every breath you take, a place untouched by fear, unsullied by judgment, unbroken by time. It is the space of your being, eternal and present. And in that space, the great miracle of transformation begins not through striving, not through control, not through the clenched fists of resistance, but through the open hands of acceptance. Acceptance is not surrender, it is not apathy, it is not weakness. It is the courageous, soul-deep acknowledgement that this moment as it is enough. Not because it conforms to your expectations, not because it gives you everything you think you need, but because it simply is. And in its isness, it is sacred. Transformation begins the moment you stop arguing with reality, the moment you cease demanding that life should have gone another way. The moment you unclench from the past, loosen your grip on your imagined future, and soften into the now. This is not passivity, this is power. The power of presence, the power of trust, the power of alignment with a deeper wisdom that transcends your intellect. Most people believe change begins when the outside world shifts, when the job is found, when the partner returns, when the pain finally disappears. But the truth, the deep and liberating truth, is that change begins inside. It begins when you turn toward your life not to fix it, not to escape it, but to be with it. To embrace what is, so that what is no longer needed can fall away. There is an old story you've been telling, a story of what should have happened, of what you've lost, of what they did, a story of shame or blame or regret. You carry it like a backpack of bricks, hoping it will finally bring justice or clarity or control. But the story is not your salvation. The story is your chain. And acceptance is the key that unlocks the door. To accept is not to approve. To accept is to see clearly, to stand still in the presence of what is, without flinching, without running, without denial. There's a kind of sacred vision that comes only when the ego quiets its complaints, when the heart stops closing doors, and when the soul is given the microphone. Acceptance is the posture of the soul. When you accept your past, it cannot haunt you. When you accept your emotions, they cannot drown you. When you accept yourself, your light, your darkness, your flaws, your beauty, you stop waiting to become someone else, and you finally arrive as yourself. This world does not need more perfected personas. It does not need more masks or performances. It needs realness. It needs presence. It needs the radiant authenticity that pours from someone who has looked at every broken part of themselves and said, yes, even this, I will not turn away. The pain you resist becomes your prison. The moment you say, this should not be, you cast yourself into inner war. But the moment you say, this is what is, you return to peace. From that peace, true change can resonate as a frantic sprint, away from what you hate, but as a gentle, guided unfolding toward who you really are. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly by force. It does not rip its own skin off in rebellion. It goes still. It surrenders. It cocoons into darkness and accepts the disintegration of all it has known. Only then can the wings form. Only then can the transformation take flight. You too must be willing to enter that sacred cocoon, to stop trying to be elsewhere, to stop judging your sadness, your anger, your confusion. These are not signs of failure. They are invitations to feel, to heal, to listen, to love. The ego will fight this. It wants movement. It wants drama. It wants victory through struggle. But the soul speaks a quieter language. It whispers in stillness. It heals through presence. And it transforms through acceptance. You have not been broken by your past. You have been shaped by it, tempered, refined, initiated. The fire did not destroy you, it revealed you. The rain did not drown, you washed away what you were never meant to carry. And the darkness was not a punishment, it was a womb, a place of becoming. Acceptance is how you make peace with the womb. It is how you sit inside the mystery and say, I don't need to understand this to trust it. The oak tree does not understand the storm, but it does not resist it. It bends, it roots, it waits, and when the winds come, it is stronger, deeper, wiser. You have carried expectations like shields, assumptions like swords, but these weapons do not protect you. They separate you from others, from peace, from your own divine nature. Lay them down. Let the story of who you thought you had to be dissolved. Return to your original self, the one who needed no reason to be worthy, the one who knew how to dance in the rain, the one who loved without a why. You are not here to control the river. You are here to learn how to float, how to feel the current beneath you and trust it is carrying you exactly where you need to go. Resistance is exhaustion. Acceptance is grace. And grace is not something you earn, it is something you allow, something you receive when you stop trying to deserve it. Grace enters when your hands are open, not clenched. It enters when your heart is soft, not armored. It enters through the door of acceptance. That door has always been waiting for you to step out of the courtroom of your mind and into the sanctuary of your spirit, waiting for you to stop defending and start discovering, waiting for you to see that there is nothing wrong with you only thoughts that told you there was. Even the pain, even the failure, even the lonely, none of it was wrong. All of it was part of your becoming, part of your sacred curriculum. And when you accept that, the pain becomes wisdom, the failure becomes freedom, and the loneliness becomes a gateway to the divine. Keep breathing, keep softening, keep letting go of the need for life to be other than it is. What if everything you've been trying to fix is already perfect in its unfolding? What if the healing isn't something you achieve, but something you stop resisting? You are not a problem to be solved. You are a soul to be felt. You are a mystery to be lived. You are a wave of divine intelligence moving through a temporary form, and every experience is a note in the song of your awakening. And the song doesn't need to be rewritten, it only needs to be heard. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not even the name you answer to. You are the witness behind it all. The presence that observes, that breathes, that remains. And in that witnessing, in that sacred noticing, you begin to awaken. You begin to realize that nothing outside of you has the authority to define your worth. Only your own awareness can do that. And awareness, when paired with acceptance, becomes liberation. How long will you wait for permission to be at peace? How many years will you spend negotiating with the past, bargaining with the future, trying to twist yourself into some idea of enough? What if you paused right now and said, this is enough, I am enough, and I no longer need to be at war with life? There is such relief in no longer needing to fight. Not because you've given up, but because you've risen up. Risen into a higher truth, where peace is not earned through struggle, but remembered through surrender. In this remembering, your entire life becomes softer. It becomes more honest. You stop chasing illusions and you begin to live. The soul does not speak in demands. It speaks in invitations. And every moment is an invitation to return to your breath, to your body, to your truth. To return to the quiet space beneath the noise, where life simply is. No judgments, no stories, just now, just presence, just being. Most people live in a cage built by their own minds. The bars are made of expectations, and the lock is resistance. But the key has always been in your hands. It's called acceptance. And when you use it, the cage disappears not because the world changed, but because your vision did. Imagine the peace that arises when you no longer need to control how others see you. Imagine the freedom when you stop trying to rewrite the past. Imagine the love you can offer yourself when you stop demanding that you be any different than you are. This is not complacency. It is awakening. The seed does not judge itself for not yet being a tree. It simply allows the rain, welcomes the sun, and trusts the unfolding. So must you. You were never meant to be anyone else. Your pain, your past, your peculiarities, they are not deviations from your path. They are your path. They are the exact conditions necessary for your soul to flower. Stop wishing they were different. Start listening to what they are here to teach. Acceptance is not the end of transformation. It is the beginning. When you finally stop trying to escape the moment becomes your teacher. When you stop resisting what is, you begin to receive what is. And that receiving is where healing begins. You may believe that you'll accept life once it gets better, but in truth, life gets better the moment you accept it. Because your suffering has never come from the moment itself. It has come from the thought that the moment should be something else. When you stop arguing with what is, your energy returns to you. And that energy can be used for love, for creativity, for connection, for truth. Resistance drains, acceptance replenishes. In the presence of acceptance, fear dissolves, because fear feeds on control. But when you accept that you do not need to control, fear loses its grip. And in that loosening, a deeper trust is born not in the mind, but in life itself. You begin to see that everything that has ever happened was not in the way, but on the way. Every detour, every heartbreak, every delay it was all divine choreography. You may not have chosen the pain, but the pain chose you for a reason. Not to punish, but to purify. Not to destroy, but to awaken. And when you accept that, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you begin to ask, what is this here to reveal in me? That shift changes everything. It shifts you from victim to vessel, from resentment to reverence, from anxiety to awe. The truth is, nothing needs to change for you to be free. Freedom is not a future destination. It is a present realization. It is a choice to see what is without resistance, without judgment, without running away. And when you truly see it, you begin to love it. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real, because it's yours, because it brought you here. And here this sacred, raw, imperfect here is where the divine lives. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin living. This is the moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this rising and falling of the chest. The divine is not elsewhere. It is right here. In the messy, the mundane, the misunderstood, this is where your transformation begins. It begins when you soften instead of harden, when you stay instead of flee, when you say yes to what is, even when it breaks your heart, especially when it breaks your heart. Because the heart must break open for the soul to shine through. And oh, how it shines. Not through the perfect mask of a polished life, but through the cracks, the flaws, the places where the light got in. Your scars are not your shame. They are your sanctuaries. Places where you were cracked open and still chose love. You are not here to prove anything. You are here to remember everything, to remember that you are whole, that you are held, that you are a wave of divine light temporarily having a human experience. And acceptance is how you remember. When you stop trying to be someone else, you come home to who you already are. And that home is not a place of perfection, it is a place of peace. A place where you can rest, where you can breathe, where you can finally lay down the burden of becoming and rise into the grace of being. This is the real miracle. Not that you changed life, but that you changed your relationship with life. That you chose to see with new eyes, to listen with an open heart, to walk not in fear, but in faith. And this faith is not blind, it is intimate. It is rooted in a knowing that cannot be explained, only felt. A knowing that whispers, even this is part of it. Even this has a place. Even this can be holy. The rain has never apologized for falling. The ocean does not regret its waves. The mountain does not wish to be smaller, and neither should you. Accept yourself as nature accepts itself unapologetically, unconditionally, unreservedly, because only when you accept yourself can you truly love yourself. And only when you love yourself can you truly love others. All transformation begins here, not out there, not later, but here. In the quiet revolution of accepting this moment, this breath, this you. So breathe, return, and open the door. Not the door of striving or proving, but the door of surrender. The door of yes. The door that has been waiting for you all along. And when you walk through that door, you do not find escape. You find arrival. You do not find perfection. You find peace. You do not find answers. You find acceptance. And that is the beginning of everything. Let this be your sacred turning point, not in outer form, but in inner knowing. Let this be the moment you say to yourself, with all the tenderness in the world, I will no longer resist this life. I will no longer push against this moment. I will accept myself. I will accept this path. I will accept the presence of the divine in all things. And as you do, the door swings open, the light floods in, the burdens drop away, and transformation no longer feels like effort. It feels like truth. It feels like peace. It feels like home. But don't just accept what feels easy. Accept even what you do not understand. Accept the mess. Accept the noise. Accept the days when the answers do not come. Because those are the days your spirit is doing its deepest work. The soil does not resist the seed just because it does not yet bloom. It holds it. It keeps it safe. And so must you hold your process without judgment, without haste, without shame. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not broken or lost. You are exactly where you are meant to be, not as a punishment, not as a failure, but as a sacred pause, a necessary inhale before the next unfolding. Stop measuring your growth with someone else's ruler. Your journey is too sacred for comparison. There is a wisdom in the silence. There is healing in the slowness, but only if you can accept it. If you can sit with the discomfort and allow it to soften you. Let life knead you like clay, molding you not into perfection, but into presence. And presence is where love lives. Can you love yourself when you're not performing? Can you honor your soul when you're not being praised? Can you sit in your solitude and still feel divine? Because that's what it means to accept yourself. Not when you're polished, not when you're accomplished, but now. In the sweat, in the uncertainty, in the imperfection. This is what real healing looks like, not the erasing of scars, but the honoring of them. Not pretending you were never wounded, but bowing to the strength it took to survive. You are not here to hide your story. You are here to illuminate it, not as a tale of victimhood, but as a testimony of rising. So let the pain be part of your poetry. Let the failures be folded into your freedom. Let the heartbreak become holy. There is no part of your experience that is not worthy of reverence. Nothing that needs to be exiled from the sacred space of your becoming. And if tears come, let them fall. Do not apologize for feeling. Do not harden just to be accepted. Because the truth is, your softness is your strength. Your emotions are not weaknesses. They are rivers that carve valleys of compassion into your soul. Let them flow. Let them teach. Let them reveal the truth you've hidden beneath the armor. You are safe now. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to defend. You don't have to explain your light to those committed to seeing you dim. Just be. Just breathe. Just stand in your sacred yes. Because when you stop chasing the life you think you should have, the life that was always meant for you can finally arrive. And when it does, you'll recognize it not by how perfect it looks, but by how peaceful it feels. That's how you'll know you're home. Not because everything outside is fixed, but because something inside is finally free. Free from resistance. Free from expectation. Free from the self-imposed pressure to constantly become in that freedom. You realize, I was never meant to strive my way into peace. I was only meant to remember that I am peace itself. This remembrance changes everything. It shifts your entire vibration. It reorients your path. not away from difficulty, but toward truth. Because truth doesn't always feel comfortable, but it always sets you free. And the deepest truth is this: you are enough, as you are, right now. Not one more achievement, not one more apology, not one more moment of proving is required. You were born worthy, and nothing this world can give or take can alter that. Acceptance is how you reclaim this truth, not by doing, but by allowing. Allow yourself to exhale. Allow yourself to soften. Allow yourself to be held not by another person, but by the infinite eternal presence that has carried you from the beginning. You are not separate from it. You are it. You are the presence you've been seeking. You are the divine disguised in human skin. And in this knowing, you stop running, you stop performing, you stop pushing away parts of yourself to be loved. You realize you don't need to be different to be whole. You need to be here to be real, to be open, to be willing to accept the pain that shaped you, the joy that sustained you, the unknown that continues to call you forward. Willing to accept that life is not a straight line, but a spiral staircase, and every return, every detour, every descent is part of the rising. Willing to accept that maybe the mountain you've been trying to climb is already within you. Maybe there's nowhere to go but deeper, deeper into stillness, deeper into self, deeper into this miraculous now. Because when you live from acceptance, you no longer live in delay. You no longer postpone your peace. You no longer wait for permission to love your life. You simply begin, right here, right now. And beginning doesn't mean changing everything. It means loving what already is. It means saying yes to the life that has said yes to you all along. So say yes. Say yes to your breath. Say yes to your history. Say yes to the places that still ache and the parts that have already healed. Say yes to the soul that longs to be felt and the love that lives just beneath your fear. Because when you say yes to all of it, transformation becomes inevitable. You cannot truly accept something and remain unchanged. Acceptance is the alchemy. The fire that doesn't burn you but reveals the gold beneath the soot. And the gold is this: you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become because of it. You are not the pain. You are the awareness holding the pain. And that awareness, your eternal self, is untouchable, indestructible, and already whole. In this space, there is nothing left to fix, only more to feel, more to welcome, more to remember. You remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You remember the you that danced in the rain, that trusted the wind, that didn't question your worth, because worth wasn't something you earned, it was something you were. And so you return, not as a stranger, not as a project, but as a soul who remembers. You return to life, not as a battleground, not as a test, but as a temple, a holy invitation to presence, to wonder, to joy. You return to yourself, not as a critic, not as a warrior, but as a lover, a gentle witness, a compassionate guide. And from that place of inner union, where all parts of you are seen, heard, and loved, life begins to flow again. Not perfectly, not predictably, but freely. You no longer need to push. You no longer need to prove. You simply walk in the direction of truth. With each step, the path reveals itself. With each breath, the burden lifts. With each moment of acceptance, transformation deepens. And at last, you understand the door was never locked. It was only waiting for you to stop resisting. And now that you have, you are free. So here you are now, not broken, but blooming. Not lost, but found in the stillness. Not waiting, but awakening. And all of it began, not with a battle, not with a breakthrough, but with a breath, with the simplest, most radical act of all acceptance. You didn't have to travel the world. You didn't have to become someone else. You only had to say yes. Yes to this moment, yes to this self, Yes to the mystery of your becoming. And in that, yes, the struggle faded, the illusion dissolved, the noise quieted, and what remained was peace. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped demanding that life be different. You stopped needing to outrun your past. You stopped fearing the shadows in you. And you looked at it all and said, even this is worthy. Even this is sacred. Even this belongs. And with those words, you came home. So walk forward now, not hurried, not hardened, but whole. Let your steps be soft, your heart be open, your eyes see the divine in all things. And let every breath you take be a gentle reminder. You were never meant to resist your life. You were meant to live it, to feel it, to embrace it, to accept it. And in that sacred acceptance, to be transformed, you are already free. You are already whole. You are already home. And everything begins from here. There's a river that runs through you, not a river of water, but of energy, of spirit, eternal, quiet, and profoundly alive. You were born into this stream, not to grasp at the banks, not to cling to the rocks, but to flow effortlessly with the current of life. And yet, so many of us have forgotten. We hold on. We resist. We clutch stories and identities and pains like anchors tied to our ankles. We cling to the past, to expectations, to control, to what they said or didn't say, did or didn't do. We tighten our fists around things that are already floating downstream, believing that somehow in our clenching, we are safe. But the soul doesn't cling. The soul flows. The ego clings, that manufactured identity born of comparison and separation. It clings because it fears dissolving. It clings because it believes in lack. It clings because it has been conditioned to survive by controlling, by proving, by protecting a fragile sense of self built entirely on illusion. But the soul knows it cannot be harmed. The soul knows it was never lacking. The soul knows it doesn't need to become anything because it already is everything. It simply flows like wind through trees, like breath in the lungs, like love that does not demand anything in return. When you wake up to this truth, not as a concept, but as a felt reality, you begin to see how much energy has been wasted in holding on to what hurt you, holding on to who hurt you, holding on to who you used to be or who you think you need to become. It is all weight. It is all unnecessary. It is all the ego's attempt to control what the soul already understands, that everything is impermanent, and that impermanence is not the enemy, but the gateway to liberation. You do not need to carry what no longer serves you, not because it is wrong, not because it is bad, but because it is heavy. You were not made for heaviness. You were not made for tightness. You were not made to grasp. You were made to expand, to evolve, to become soft and supple and surrendered to the mysterious rhythm of life. You were made to flow. And flowing is not weakness. It is not passive. It is the most powerful act of trust. It is the choice to no longer resist the current of your own evolution. It is the courage to let go of the known and surrender to the vastness of the unknown. It is the decision to stop trying to control outcomes and start honoring alignment. It is the daily sacred practice of asking, where is life trying to take me, and am I willing to go? So ask yourself now, what are you clinging to? What story? What identity? What memory? What resentment? What version of yourself have you outgrown, but are still performing because it's familiar? And what would it feel like just for a moment to loosen your grip, to unclench your mental fists and allow life to move through you, not around you? Because here's the truth. When you release the need to control, you become available to grace. When you let go, you don't fall, you rise. You rise into the higher frequency of your own being. You rise into the flow state of the soul. You rise into a rhythm that is not frantic or forceful, but deeply peaceful, deeply wise, deeply loving. There is a quiet confidence in those who flow. They do not need to prove, they do not need to rush, they are not seduced by urgency or pressure. They move from presence. They listen to the whispers beneath the noise, they trust the signs. They walk away when it's time. They stay when it's true. They live not by force, but by alignment. You were never meant to swim against the current of your own truth. And what is your truth? That you are not the stories you've been telling yourself. You are not your wounds. You are not your resume or your failures or your reputation. You are not the name they gave you or the roles you were assigned. You are something far more eternal. A soul here for a fleeting moment, learning to remember who you are. And in remembering, you heal. You heal not by adding more to yourself, but by releasing what is not you. You don't become whole by accumulation. You become whole by subtraction. Letting go of the fear, letting go of the shame, letting go of the need for validation, letting go of the timelines, letting go of the weight. You don't need it anymore. You never did. Flowing means saying yes to your own becoming. It means no longer holding yourself hostage to a version of you that was necessary for survival but is no longer aligned with who you're becoming. It means trusting that what is meant for you will never require you to shrink, to strive, or to betray your own peace. Flowing means releasing the people who cannot meet you where you're going, not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with deep gratitude for what they showed you and a quiet bow as you both continue your separate ways. Flowing means grieving what has ended, but not dragging the corpse with you. Flowing means allowing the space in your life to be empty for a while, not rushing to fill it with noise, distraction, or new attachments, but trusting that the empty space is sacred, that the void is the womb of your next becoming, that silence is not absence, but presence preparing you for more. So often we say we want peace, but we are unwilling to release the chaos. We say we want to be free, but we are addicted to our chains. We say we want to flow, but we grip the riverbanks with white knuckles. The soul waits patiently, never pushing, never punishing, just whispering gently, let go, let it flow, I know the way. And when you finally listen, when you finally soften, when you finally surrender, everything changes. Not because the world has changed, but because your inner world is no longer resisting the current of life. You stop trying to swim upstream. You stop arguing with reality. You stop fighting your own expansion. And in that stillness, in that surrender, you remember you were always the river. You were always the flow. You were never the rock. There is a sacred intelligence flowing through all of life, an unspoken harmony that arranges galaxies and opens flowers, that carries the tide and breathes your lungs without needing permission. That same force flows through you. It's not something you must earn. It's not something that depends on your achievements or your past. It is your nature. The soul is not something you possess, it is what you are. And the soul knows how to flow because it is not bound by ego. It does not confuse stillness with stagnation. It does not mistake letting go for losing. It sees the truth clearly, that everything you're afraid of losing was never truly yours, only borrowed for a time, a teacher in disguise, a season in the symphony of your evolution. The ego builds walls, but the soul opens windows. The ego fears death, but the soul knows only transformation. The ego asks, what will they think? The soul asks, what is true for me? And you must decide, moment by moment, breath by breath, whose voice you will follow. Do you want a life that clings or a life that flows? Clinging says, I am not enough, so I must hold on to this person, this job, this image, this pain, or I will disappear. Flowing says, I'm already whole, so I trust that what leaves is no longer aligned and what comes is already mine in spirit. One is fear masquerading as love. The other is love, pure and unshaken by circumstance. Let this moment be the moment you come back to yourself, back to the still, wise, unshakable presence beneath the noise of your mind, back to the space where you don't need to prove anything, where you don't need to fix yourself, where you don't need to get somewhere else. Back to the simple, sacred truth. You are already held. You are already guided. You are already flowing when you stop trying to be the river and allow yourself to become the water. You cannot flow while clinging, and you cannot cling while flowing. The soul invites you into a different kind of power, not the kind that forces outcomes or dominates others, but the kind that rises from radical trust. Trust that what is falling away is making space. Trust that what didn't work was never meant to last. Trust that the timing is perfect, even when it makes no sense to the mind. Trust that something ancient and eternal is always on your side, even when life feels like unraveling. Especially then, there is beauty in the unraveling. There is grace in the undoing. There is peace in the pause between chapters. And when you stop resisting that space, when you stop trying to rush through the uncomfortable unknown, you will feel something holy begin to open. The weight will lift. The breath will deepen. The tears will soften into prayers. The fight will dissolve into presence. And presence, my friend, is the doorway to the soul. When you are fully here, not regretting the past or rehearsing the future, you remember the only thing that has ever been real, this moment, this breath, this now. And in that now, the need to cling dissolves. Because you see, there is nothing to cling to. There is only this infinite moment of becoming. This is the invitation. This is the path. This is the liberation. To trust your flow more than you trust your fear. Your pain has shaped you, but it does not define you. Your story is sacred, but it is not your prison. You are not bound to what once broke you. You are not required to relive what you've already outgrown. You can thank the past for its lessons and then let it go. Not because you're denying it, but because you're no longer choosing to suffer under its weight. The past is not your home. The soul lives forward. You are not meant to stay where your spirit has already left. You are not meant to dwell in spaces that no longer resonate. You are not meant to repeat patterns that keep you small. You are not meant to make yourself digestible to those who cannot taste the truth of your being. You are not meant to betray your own peace for the comfort of others. You are meant to flow. And to flow, you must trust that letting go is not the end, it is the beginning. The soul doesn't cling to roles, titles, outcomes, or attachments. It doesn't demand proof. It simply flows faithfully, naturally, freely with the source from which it came. You are that source in form. You are that eternal presence expressing itself in a human lifetime. You are not separate from the divine. You are a unique, unrepeatable current in the ocean of God. And when you stop resisting that current, you return home to your deepest truth. I am not this fear. I am not this grasping. I am not this control. I am the one who watches it all, come and go, untouched and unafraid. Flowing is not about giving up. It is about giving in. Not to weakness, but to wisdom. Not to chaos, but to the deeper order. Not to apathy, but to alignment. It is the realization that the more tightly you hold on, the more you suffer. And the more you surrender, the more you see life was never working against you. It was always working for your awakening. So breathe, soften, listen, let go of your agenda for a moment and ask the deeper question, what is life trying to show me? Where is it trying to lead me? What truth have I been avoiding? And what would happen if I simply said yes? This is not the path of the world. It is the path of the soul. It is slower, deeper, quieter, but it is also more powerful. It doesn't rush to fix. It doesn't cling to old maps. It doesn't need guarantees. It simply flows because it trusts. And as you begin to live from this place, your life changes. Not always in visible ways, but in foundational ways. You feel lighter, you react less, you forgive more easily, You stop explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand. You find peace in solitude. You let love find you instead of chasing it. You speak your truth, not to convince, but because it's who you are. You live not from fear, but from freedom. And this is the deepest freedom, not the freedom to control everything, but the freedom from the need to let that be enough for now. Let it be enough to breathe. Let it be enough to not know what's next, but to trust that something sacred is unfolding. Let it be enough to release what you were never meant to carry. Let it be enough to simply return to the flow again and again, as many times as you need. You are not late, you are not behind, you are not broken, you are not too much or not enough. You are exactly where your soul needs you to be, learning, shedding, remembering, returning. Because you've never truly left. You've only been distracted, you've only been afraid. You've only been trying to manage a river that was always here to carry you. But now you remember. Now you feel it rising in you. The call to flow, the whisper to let go, the sacred courage to stop clinging and start living fully, freely, fearlessly. Flowing is a remembrance, not a destination. You don't become worthy of it, you return to it. It's what you were before they told you who to be, before the world wrapped its labels around your light. Before you learn to perform for approval or to hide your wounds beneath a polished smile, the flow was always there beneath the striving, beneath the shame, beneath the noise. It's the you that exists when there's nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to cling to, just presence, just love, just the gentle, patient rhythm of your soul moving in time with the infinite. When you stop trying to carry the weight of your entire life on your shoulders, something holy happens. You begin to feel the hands of the divine beneath you, invisible, steady, holding you even when you can't see them. You stop gripping so tightly to outcomes, and you start trusting in the unfolding. You stop trying to make people stay, and you start honoring the way love expands when it's not possessed. You stop controlling the narrative, and you start living the truth. This is not complacency. This is not apathy. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is the deepest courage there is, to trust your inner knowing more than external noise, to walk away when it dishonors your soul, to release what you've outgrown, even when your hands shake, to say yes to the quiet, sacred, unglamorous process of healing without needing applause, to no longer make decisions from fear, but from the freedom of your spirit. You are not here to be weighed down by old stories. You are not here to live in someone else's version of who you should be. You are not here to repeat ancestral patterns of suffering because you think pain is noble. You are here to break the cycle, to breathe a new breath, to say, it ends with me, not in anger, not in pride, but in clarity, in peace, in love. You are here to choose differently. And every moment offers that choice to cling or to flow, to resist or to surrender, to live from fear or from freedom. Some days you will forget. That's okay. Some days the grip will tighten again around your expectations, your history, your identity. But each time, the soul will gently remind you, you don't need to hold on. You are held. You don't need to carry it. You are carried. Letting go is not an event, it is a practice, a returning, a loosening, a remembering that the more you allow, the more you align, the more you trust, the more you transform. The more you flow, the more you heal, not by fixing anything, but by finally realizing that nothing essential was ever broken. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to unbecome everything that was never really you. Peel it back. The guilt, the people-pleasing, the perfectionism, the pressure to perform, the need to be understood by everyone, the urge to keep proving your worth. Let it all drop away. Strip yourself of everything that doesn't feel like truth. Watch how light you become when you stop dragging what you were never meant to carry. This is the miracle of flowing. It clears the space for the real you to emerge. Not the wounded self, not the performing self, not the pleasing self, the soul self, the one who trusts timing, the one who lives in presence, the one who doesn't argue with reality, the one who breathes deeply and walks lightly because they've realized that nothing real can be lost and nothing unreal is worth holding on to. And so the healing continues. It deepens. It doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't come with fireworks or grand revelations. Sometimes it's a quiet shift, the moment you don't react to the old trigger, the moment you choose silence over defending yourself, the moment you let someone go without needing closure. That's healing. That's flow. And you begin to realize that you are no longer in a rush. You are no longer desperate for answers. You are no longer searching for validation in eyes that do not know how to see you. You are no longer willing to abandon yourself for love. You are no longer willing to distort your truth just to be accepted. You flow now. You honor the rhythm of your own soul. You listen, not to the fear in your head, but to the knowing in your heart. You allow others to think what they think. You allow life to unfold in its own timing. You allow the unknown to be not a threat, but a temple. You are becoming free, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Because you no longer seek to control what cannot be controlled. Because you no longer fear the silence. Because you no longer need to carry every burden alone. Because you have remembered the sacred truth. The soul doesn't cling, it flows. And in that flowing, you begin to see others differently too. You stop demanding that they stay the same. You stop needing them to complete you. You stop blaming them for your wounds. You stop trying to convince, convert, or change them. You begin to love in a new way, not from need, but from overflow. Not from fear, but from freedom. Not to fill a hole, but to share your wholeness. You forgive, not to let them off the hook, but to unhook yourself from the chain of suffering. You release, not because you don't care, but because you've decided to care for your peace more than your pride. You walk away when needed, not in anger, but in truth. You stay when aligned, not out of fear, but out of love. This is the work of the soul. Not to fight, but to flow. Not to conquer, but to remember. Not to cling, but to let the river carry you home. And the more you do this, the more you will find that what is meant for you doesn't require effort to hold. It fits, it resonates, it flows with you. The people, the opportunities, the visions, they feel light, they feel aligned, they feel like truth. And those that don't, you bless them and release them. No resistance, no resentment, just clarity, just grace. You are not here to suffer. You are not here to earn love. You are not here to be everything for everyone. You are here to embody your soul. And the soul is not in a hurry. It is not in panic. It is not at war. It is water. It is wind. It is light. And it knows the way. Every moment you let go, something within you softens. The heart opens. The breath deepens. You begin to feel again not the sharpness of suffering, but the quiet pulse of aliveness. And in that aliveness, you meet yourself. Not the idea of you, not the projection, but the real you, the ancient you, the unshakable you. The one who has walked through fire and still chooses grace. The one who has lost so much and yet still sings. The one who has broken, bent, wept, crawled, and yet never forgot the truth, no matter how dim it became in the noise of the world. And the truth is this: you are not your trauma. You are not your past. You are not your wounds. You are the presence that witnessed it all. You are the light that survived. You are the consciousness that continues to rise. Your soul doesn't cling to pain because your soul knows pain is not your identity. Your soul doesn't cling to success because your soul knows success is not your worth. Your soul doesn't cling to certainty because your soul knows that life is never meant to be figured out. It's meant to be felt, danced, lived, flowed with. You begin to understand, not just mentally, but with your whole being. Resistance is the only thing that hurts. Not the event, not the loss, not the ending, the resistance to it, the refusal to let it move through you. The clinging to the idea that it should have been different. The obsession with rewriting the past in your mind. The ego screams, it wasn't supposed to be this way. But the soul whispers, it was. It had to be. Not as punishment, as preparation. Preparation for what? For this sacred moment of awakening, this sacred return to yourself, this sacred choice to no longer live in bondage to the past, this sacred breath of surrender, this sacred decision to let life love you without needing you to control it. You see, now peace is not found in fixing, it is found in flowing. It is not found in having all the answers. It is found in becoming the space where the answers can land. And that space is still. That space is soft. That space is unclenched, unarmored, unafraid. So many of us carry invisible armor. We tighten around life, bracing for impact. We anticipate rejection. We rehearse abandonment. We prepare for loss. We protect ourselves from the very experiences that would set us free. But freedom never comes through defense. Freedom comes through openness, through willingness, through flow. Drop the armor now. It is not needed here. You are safe to be soft. You are safe to be open. You are safe to let go. And yes, your mind will tell you that to flow is to risk everything, that if you surrender, you'll fall apart. But the soul knows what falls apart is only what was never true to begin with. Let the false self unravel, let the story dissolve, let the illusion burn. You are not here to live a tightly controlled life. You are here to live a truthful life. And truth has no need for clinging. You don't have to force what's meant for you. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to hold on to love with a white knuckle grip. Love that is real doesn't need to be caged. It flows to you freely as an echo of your own alignment. This is the shift. This is the healing. This is the moment you become new, not by becoming someone else, but by shedding the untrue. And the world around you begins to mirror this. You attract with ease what you used to chase. You release what no longer resonates without fear. You speak your truth with clarity and softness. You stop asking, will they accept me? And start asking, am I accepting myself? Because the soul doesn't seek approval. It lives in integrity. And that integrity is not perfection. It's not a curated image. It's the quiet knowing that you are who you say you are, even when no one is watching. It's the soft power of being at home in your own spirit. It's the lightness of not needing to cling to masks. You are returning to that now, and in your return, you heal. You heal generations of suppression. You heal lifetimes of clinging. You heal the fractured relationship between your mind and your essence. Because flowing is not just personal, it is sacred. It is ancestral. It is collective. When you choose to flow, you liberate others. When you let go, you give others permission to do the same. When you live in presence, you become a lighthouse for those still lost in the storm of control. You don't need to save anyone. Your light is the invitation. Your flow is the medicine. So don't be afraid of the emptiness that comes when you let go. That emptiness is not void. It is space. It is room for the real to emerge. It is the fertile ground of transformation. And in that ground, new life will grow. Not because you forced it, not because you planned it, but because you became available to it. You flowed, and now you see that nothing real is ever lost, that what was taken was only ever borrowed, that what fell away was only meant to walk you to the threshold of your deeper becoming, that every detour was a necessary redirection, that every heartbreak was a holy invitation, that every ending was really a beginning dressed in silence. You see that clinging never protected you, it only exhausted you. You see that control was a disguise for fear. You see that your safety has never been in the known, but in the truth. You see that love, real love, never requires you to abandon yourself. And so you choose again and again to flow, not perfectly, not always easily, but honestly, gently, wholeheartedly. Because flowing is not about being above pain. It's about not becoming it. It's about allowing yourself to feel fully, vulnerably, without letting that feeling become your identity. It's about meeting yourself where you are while still trusting where you're going. It's about no longer carrying yesterday's weight into tomorrow's miracle. Then let us close, softly and clearly, like the last ripple of a river disappearing into the sea. You are not here to grasp. You are not here to control the current. You are not here to rewrite the past or manipulate the future. You are here to be, to open, to breathe, to allow the mystery to move through you like a sacred wind, to become so light that nothing sticks, nothing stains, nothing steals your peace. Flowing doesn't mean nothing matters. It means you no longer suffer unnecessarily over what does. Let the world change. Let people leave. Let dreams evolve. Let chapters close. Let the self you once were dissolve into the self you're becoming. Let it all move. Let it all flow. Because the soul doesn't cling. It flows. It trusts. It breathes. It loves. And it remembers always that nothing real can ever be lost. And neither can you. You are the river. Now flow.